So a few questions over the last couple of weeks. Would you recommend an elastic band or the chin-up machine? I would recommend whichever one you prefer, to be honest. I think chin-up machines are great, but I don't think they're very common. So I tend to show people the one with the bands in order to be able to get to more reps in chin-ups. Using a band around the foot or knee is really useful. The main difference between the chin-up machine and the band is that the band is going to help you the most at the start of the lift, but then it decreases its help as you get higher, whereas the chin-up machine will help you consistently from bottom to top. You can also, the machine is better at incrementally decreasing the assistance you get, and you can measure that a lot better, so you might prefer that. But then you might actually have just struggle at the bottom the most and kind of like the help at the start, which is usually the hardest part, and then you kind of are happy to take the end more to yourself. You can also just change the types of bands, so you are actually going to change the amount of help you get from them, but it's just basically achieving the same task with slightly different tools. And I think go for either, see what you prefer, see which one is giving you more progress as well. As long as you feel like you're getting full range and you're actually working the arms and back, then you're going to be doing a good job at building up your chin-up strength. Next one is, I'm doing most of the running days indoors on a treadmill, but I really do not enjoy this a lot. Is it possible to do some cardio sessions as a swim training, or any recommendations there? So I would say that I love swimming. I think it's really good, really nice for the body, really like full body movement, no impact, so it's excellent. But it's not really something you can say is equivalent to running. So you're not going to get the same energy benefits from it. It's just very different. That doesn't mean you can't substitute one of the running sessions a week with your swimming. You could still make it a bit of an interval as well, so like one fast length followed by three slow lengths, for example, keeping a similar 1:3 ratio. But I think that you need to recognize that running cannot be replicated with anything other than running, and for injury prevention you're going to definitely want to build up the capacity to run as much as you can. But if you're starting early now, you've got a long winter, you've got 4 months before you're actually competing, you certainly can take that. You can certainly take one swimming and use that instead of running, but just make sure you're not completely neglecting it, and you start to build it back in as you get closer and closer to your more competitive time of the year. Just wants to add, I usually do these running sessions right before practice. Yeah, so is this a problem? So doing the running sessions right before a practice or a game is just potentially going to overload you a bit. So some things that will happen is that you'll be more tired. You'll be more tired not only like the next day, but during your practice session, so that you might feel you're actually not performing as well as you'd like. So your skills are worse, your throws are worse, and of course it's a great time to be working on those things, so you don't really want to necessarily make those or be detrimental to those by doing your running session right before the training session. And if you were to do the running after training as well, then you are just going to be tired going into it, so you're not fresh, and so your output there is going to be worse. So they're definitely going to compromise what you can get from either of them. But at the end of the day, the best way to do something is actually what makes you do it. So if you were to not do it at all otherwise, or you'd really struggle, you'd be chopping and changing a bit, whatever, if it's very inconsistent otherwise, then it's absolutely fine. Double them up, but just don't expect to be able to go at 100% at both. And it's actually fine to just taper back a bit and just, as I was saying before, just building up volume and capacity with your running, and that's fine. So last one is if increasing weights. Okay, so I want to talk about how to do that both within a set and then from week to week to see that you're actually seeing progress, but that you're not under training or overtraining. So you don't want to overdo it or underdo it. So within a set, I like to do a light set, a medium set, a heavy set. So it's usually 3 sets for something like a deadlift, for example. So the light set is a warm-up. So what do we do before we go sprinting? We usually jog first, right? Then we usually go a bit faster, and a lot of people have like, okay, we'll do 70% strides now, 80%, 90% all out. That's what you're doing with your deadlifts. You're just going from like your 50, 60%, 70%, 80%. But you can generally, depending on how strong you are, depending on how warmed up you are with other exercises, you don't necessarily need like 5 sets to get to that heavier set, but some people do, and they just add them in, and that's absolutely fine. So essentially you want to start light and easy like a jog, then you want to add on a bit more weight based on how you felt there. So you might add on a smaller amount some weeks where you're feeling more tired or achy and it just didn't feel smooth, and then you might add in an extra set if you realize by the 3rd set you actually could go heavier, you underestimated yourself. Always better to do that than to overestimate, and then you just add in an extra set, and that's fine. And then from week to week, we expect to see a couple of kilograms difference if you're still building in a lift. If you've already kind of maxed out your genetic potential, that's fine. But most people have kind of lost a bit of strength from their in-season, like doing less lifting, and so they've got more to gain in the off-season. So from week to week, maybe a 5 kilo increase for lower body exercises and like a 2 to 4 kilo increase for upper body exercises. Basically, you'll be able to increase more for lower body than you would for upper body, and even up as much as like 5 to 10 kilograms is very doable for a lot of people. But it's better to go do that like slowly and steadily than to try and race to that point.